Hey, welcome back to the Ace Football Academy. This is your Friday Footy Talk for August 29th, 2025. I'm Coach Dunham, joined alongside Coach Hamilton. Previously, we had a nice series of creating your practices and kind of the breakdown of what coaches go through. We're going to get back into the players on the field today. We feel it's time to get to the players and how to coach them up. And today we're going to focus on the center midfielder. We're going to look into the attacking midfielder, the defensive midfielder, and really that complete box-to-box midfielder and different traits that maybe they're going to need. But Coach, we talk about they're the workhorse. It's the engine room. It's, what's the other words you're looking for? The heartbeat of the team. They kind of set the tempo. And they're connecting the attackers with the defense, and they got a pretty important role, Coach. So there's a lot to doing the midfield. And today when they're doing like the 4-3-3, that mid-triangle, they've got a lot to do, and they got to be intelligent, they got to be athletic, and they got to be able to run all game long.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of what you've mentioned in, as many words, that central midfielder that we were talking about has evolved so much over the years. You mentioned now that central midfielder could be attacking, could be defending, could be your standard, right? Sometimes they have where, you mentioned the triangle where we're moving the triangle. And so at one point I may be a center midfielder, and then I may be an attacking midfielder or a defending, holding midfielder. So what's fascinating for me, and we'll get into it a little bit tonight, is the way that this role has evolved over time.
Yeah. Many years ago, you and I were just talking off camera about the sweeper stopper.
Right.
And there was also the diamond midfield.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really notate it as defensive mid and attacking mid. It was just the diamond type of formation. Right. There was also the 4-4-2, where you have just the two pairs as the center mids.
Right.
Where they're both basically box-to-box formations. So there's so many ways to play the game, to coach the game. And we said this before, it all depends on who was on your roster, what you have, what those traits are. So, Coach, let's dig into the central midfield, kind of the brain of the team. We've already said this, the heartbeat, it's the engine room. They've got to be, the number one thing for me, besides the intelligence and up here, but passing. They've got to be able to make the right pass, the simple pass, the through ball, the switch, the drop. All that has to be in their arsenal. It can't just be forward, forward, forward all day long. They've got to be that player that understands, okay, I'm under pressure. Where's the space? Where can I play the ball to relieve the pressure to, number one, maintain possession, and number two, change the point of attack, where the defense maybe isn't expecting it, or I find a hole, but that passing is the number one thing for me.
Yeah, and going along with that, with that passing, it's also off the ball too, right? I have to be prepared to help my strikers off the ball. I have to be prepared to help my back line, my keeper off the ball as well. So you mentioned finding that pass. Do I need to play the drop, find that space? But they also do that off the ball too, probably more than anybody on the field, right? Because they're working both ends of the pitch. And so what I like about this is that, everything that happens runs through that center midfielder. That's why you get that engine room, or that's why you get that heartbeat, right? Because without them, or without a decent center mid, it's hard to do almost anything in the game.
Yeah, so along with the passing, the other thing I look for, and you've already alluded to this, positioning.
Yeah.
When we're defending, I can't just be pressing the ball all day long when somebody else is doing that for me. I've got to play off my other players.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to be staggered along my back line. I can't be, in line or flat with them. There has to be an understanding of positioning to where I can intercept a pass or possibly take away an option, preventing a pass, something that gets them off their rhythm. And your positioning is a big factor in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, and I know we're going to talk about this, but I love the note you have written here. You opened podcast saying, one of the most, if not the most important position on the field is the center mid, right? But they also, unfortunately, I think, get overlooked sometimes because, your strikers are scoring all the goals. Your defenders, your goalkeepers are making all the fantastic saves and all that kind of stuff. And your center mids are just kind of those guys in the middle of the field who, are overlooked sometimes. And it's unfortunate because they are the hardest workers in the game of soccer.
And the crazy thing about that is sometimes, depending on how the style of play of your team, that center midfielder can look boring.
Yeah.
Can look maybe unappealing as they're playing because they're just, I'm just playing the drop. I'm switching the field. I'm playing a simple 1-2 with somebody. But all of this is a part of the build-up. Right. It's all part of breaking down that defense. Some famous examples of just regular midfielders to go into: Sergio Busquets, famous Barcelona, Spain midfielder. Who doesn't know Kevin De Bruyne as a fantastic attacking midfielder? And then you got Steven Gerrard, who's just known as that box-to-box. He can intercept, he can hit the long shot, he can go from one box to the other on the attacking role to defensive. So a lot of famous guys to look into if you're a player or a coach to say, all right, what did this guy do? What traits did they have? What did they make simple?
Right.
And what did they bring to the game that was beneficial to their team?
I love that word you just used. Simple. Center mids, I think that's their job, right? Is how can I make this game simple for my defenders and for my strikers?
All right, Coach, let's look into the defensive midfielder. He's also known as the number 6 on the field. If you're familiar with the number system, we're going to discuss that here as well. Primary roles of the defensive midfielder: shielding the back line. Again, that positioning factor of being staggered. Again, your center back should be speaking to your defensive mid, saying, hey, shift left, shift right, push up. So you're all working in sync, but that positioning is crucial. Breaking up plays has got to be one of the biggest things. Yep. You've got to be making tackles, you got to be making interceptions, and your positioning and your athleticism is going to get you there. And, of course, we've already alluded to this, the passing. You're part of the possession, making those simple passes. Maybe you just intercepted it and immediately get that ball off your foot. You've got to find that simple pass to maintain that possession there.
Yeah, and one thing that you didn't mention that I will add on to kind of those primary roles, I run the system I'm running right now. We play a 6, so we play that defensive holding mid, right? Do you call it a defensive mid or do you call it a holding mid? What do you use?
I say both.
Okay.
All
right. So the defensive mid. So I play that 6, and one of the big things we talk about is filling those gaps when my outside back has made a run out to the outside, right, to cover a wing or whatever it is, right. When that goes, instead of having to shift my whole line, that 6 can just drop into the play, right? And so seeing those moments as well. So now my center back can stay more central where I want them, and then that 6 can slide into that other outside back role at times. But you mentioned breaking up the play. One thing I want to add that I mentioned to my team for the first time, and we won't do it or anything like that, but I did just kind of bring it up. They also have to be that smart player in that transition, in that moment of transition when we've lost the ball, where I got to know how to foul. I got to know how to foul without getting a card, without making it look malicious, but to where in those crucial moments, I've stopped the play.
That is a great point here, Coach, because we call them professional fouls, but there's value in this. And it's, number one, preventing the breakaway. The other part of that is preventing them having numbers up on our defense. And in today's systems, you're pushing up your outside backs. Your wings are all the way up. Sometimes it's just your 2 center backs and your holding midfielder holding the back line. And your center backs should be spread out pretty wide because your outside backs are pushing up to the midfield. So understanding, I made a bad pass or a bad first touch. Oh, crap. I've got to get up, maybe slide tackle, going for the ball,
Yeah, absolutely.
maybe nick his ankles a little bit, but bringing him down at some point. He can't be pulling the jersey. That's going to be an automatic card. You can't get him from behind, automatic card. So it's finding that fine line of how to prevent that breakaway and that numbers advantage there.
And that takes skill, right?
It absolutely does.
And especially in those moments where I ask my girls all the time, when we get 2 or 3 minutes in, I ask every single one of my defensive players, I'll point at the person that they're aligned with, and I say, are you faster than her? Because I need to know, right? They need to know, no, she's faster than me, so I got to drop a little bit, right? So especially when you're playing those speedy back lines, and that 6 has to understand that they're going to outrun everybody if they get by me. So I'm just going to go ahead and end this play now.
You know what we call that, Coach? Tactical awareness.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've asked my players this all the time. Hey, what formation are they playing?
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know. Hey, what player are they going through 60% of the time? Yep. I don't know. These are the things that players need to be focusing on while they're playing. All right, number 10, we're 5 minutes into the game. He's touched the ball 5 times and made fantastic passes, maintaining possession. All right, we've got to shut him down. And again, that is the role of that defensive midfielder. If they're going through some attacking midfielder like a Kevin De Bruyne, I've got to find a way to prevent that ball to him, or maybe fouling him every time he touches the ball in some way that doesn't give me carded. But that tactical awareness has to be there, that intelligence. I've got to be aware of how they're playing, what system we're going through, and maybe kind of breaking down what their game plan is, and now I can kind of counter that in some way. That's the role of that defensive midfielder, big time.
And even, to go off of that, even in those moments when you are going up against a Kevin De Bruyne, right? I need, as soon as the opposing team crosses midfield or whatever in possession, my eyes should be scanning for him, right? I should be finding him, and whether I'm going to mark or I'm hollering at you to mark him, right? But those things have to happen so quickly. Before we move on, I also want to add this. You have on there, when do I press, when do I sit, right? And so I think that, again, you want to talk about tactical awareness and being smart and being the engineer and being the brain behind the operation, right? Knowing when, okay, we don't have the numbers right now, we need to sit and just contain and let everybody get back versus, hey, we got numbers, we're pushing up, we're pressing, and we're going to win this ball back now.
The other side of that is we're talking about a lot of defensively and winning the ball back, but you're also a part of the attack.
Yes.
Your outside backs are pushing up. If we're around the 18 or pressing into that box, you're probably around 10 to 15 yards on top of the box. You're waiting for that drop, either kick it back out wide, put it right back into the box, or just firing a rocket into the back of the net. So you're just as important as on the attacking side as you are on the defensive side there, Coach. So let's get into our attacking midfielder now, also known as the number 10. This is your playmaker. I think the key word here is creativity.
Big time.
Creativity. You have to see things. It's kind of like chess, Coach. I need to see it 2, 3, 4 plays before it happens. And again, that tactical awareness comes into play. I need to focus on, are they playing a flat back 4? Are they playing a back 3? Are they playing the sweeper stopper, old school style? Because that's going to give me an indication of what kind of balls I can play, what kind of runs I need my forwards to be making. And so once we get that creativity down, now I'm threading those key passes through the defense. I'm finding those gaps or those lanes into the seam or out wide, whatever that's going to be, Coach. We're breaking down that defense or unlocking gaps and holes to break down that defense, but that attacking mid, I'm not starting the attack, but I'm probably making the path that leads to an opportunity on goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of mentioned it, linking the midfield, into the attack, right? Seeing those things. I love what you said there because you're 100% correct. The greatest center midfielders know, okay, I understand what we're doing attacking wise, and I know Dunham's going to play that ball out wide, and then I know that winger is going to find me, and then I'm already looking, I got a one-on-one matchup over here. I'm playing that ball through, right? And so they're already seeing those things, and those things are going through their mind immediately, along with the creativity. they got to have great on the ball skills, right? They got to be good with the ball at their feet. They have to be confident with the ball at their feet, because they're going to probably more than anyone have several 1v1 opportunities.
Yeah, I point blank, coach. That guy's he has to be, just like you said, not only do you have to handle the ball well, but under pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about approaching, you're already in the attacking zone, you're approaching the box.
Defense is
and
compact.
that defense is compacting on you like crazy. You got to decide, all right, do I have a hole to play it through, or do I need to pull it back?
Yes.
And play it back out wide, play it to my center back or holding mid, and kind of readjust and reorganize and try it again. Because if my wings, my forwards are making these runs and they're not being followed, well, my spacing through the middle probably isn't going to be there. So it's either going to be over top or out wide, and play some kind of give and go with those wings out wide. So your vision, understanding what that defense is doing. So it's all up here, coach.
Yeah,
way
absolutely.
more up here than it is athletically. You've got to see it, like we already said. It's kind of like chess. You got to see it way before it happens, because that anticipation comes into play here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that we've kind of hinted toward but haven't said yet, you also got to be a threat to score, right? You have to be that threat where, okay, my striker has the ball and he plays it back to the top of the 18. I got to be able to one-time that ball into the back of the net, because that's where you're going to get those opportunities from the 18 or just outside the 18. Balls that kind of squirt out or cleared poorly. Do you have that ability to find the back of the net from outside or on the top of the box?
And the other side of that is, and you kind of alluded to that, well, my center forward, he's coming back to the ball. Well, now there's space behind him.
Yeah.
And if my wing isn't making that diagonal run,
Yeah.
I'm making that overlapping run in that space. Because if my center forward checks to and receives the ball, that center back is going to be on him.
Yeah.
And that's going to leave some kind of space somewhere behind that center back. And I've got to see, all right, is that an available run? Is my wing making that? Do I need to make that outside run because my wing's coming through diagonally? Again, off the ball tactical awareness is even bigger situation here, because I've got to be in a position to receive the pass at all times, but also be able to see the runs to make while the ball's still being played.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like a lot, but it's because it is, right? This is the heartbeat of our team.
Yeah, and again, tempo.
Yeah.
I don't think we've said that enough, and we need to bring that up a little bit more, but the attacking midfielder, for me at least, more than the defensive midfielder, is setting that tempo. Either you're playing 1,000 passes a game of these simple little 1-2s back and forth, or you're trying to penetrate behind that defense every single time you get that ball. And you've got to be able to see that ball, and you've got to be able to play that perfect pass on a one touch. Because as we're getting older, high school, college, pros, that one extra touch, that gap is gone. And again, you've got to see it before it happens, and you got to play it at the right moment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that you mentioned that I want to just bring back up is, and only because I heard it said a lot tonight at my training, you don't always have to go forward, right? I don't always have to go forward. And that's those moments where the 10 is able to say, okay, we don't have numbers right now. Or maybe it's just, hey, this defense is set up really nicely right now. We need to recycle this ball and try to get somebody out of position.
Absolutely, Coach. All right, let's move on to our box-to-box midfielder, sometimes known as the complete midfielder. He's going to be listed as your number 8 on the field if you're going by the number system. Primary roles, he's balancing between attack and defense, making those defensive duties come all the way back to help your back line, pushing all the way up on your attacking runs, whether in a support or attacking role, whatever that may be, covering a ridiculous amount of ground.
Ridiculous.
I mean, if you can get online and find some of these heat maps of players that are box to box, it should be basically an oval from just inside the box down to the other box, and it should be a nice oval of a heat map of him just going all over the place. And they're probably running what do you think, 9 to 10 miles a game?
Yeah, easy.
So other than that, you're supporting both phases of play. You're defending, you're attacking, you're a complete player. You're doing everything that your team needs to break down defenses, to win the ball back, and finding some way to maintain possession and some cohesion and chemistry there.
Yeah. This is the toughest position for me when you look at it because of all the things you just said, right? Because you are expected to go box to box. So you want to talk about attributes. I mean, just the simple, and it sounds so cliche, but you have to be in soccer shape, right? You have to be able to go nonstop. And for a lot of these players, for close to 60 or 80 minutes a match, right? Because of you're not splitting those center mids anymore into attacking and a defensive, right? So ultimately, this number 8 is responsible for doing both. This number 8 is responsible for being the attacking mid and the defending mid. That's often why when you see that, you'll have two. You'll have a left center and a right center, right? But for me, those physical demands on that 8 are higher than on anybody on the field. And so just being in that soccer shape and taking care of your body is so important to this position.
Just think about the stamina that was required. Let's say back in the 90s when the 4-4-2
Was
it was
massive.
just two center midfielders.
Yeah.
You had two up top, two out wide, and then your back line. I mean, it was just two in the midfield.
Mm-hmm.
This is why the 4-3-3 has really become the modernized way of playing ball because 3 in the middle is more efficient.
Yeah.
You can kind of narrow down the traits of each specific player of this guy's going to be more defensive, this guy's more attacking, and you got my box to box here.
Yeah.
So you got more of a supporting role in that 4-3-3. But just like you said, Coach, the stamina required in this box to box type of midfielder is, I mean, you can't really explain it because it's that boring position.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to stand out. You're not the one getting in the box all the time. You're probably not making 1,000 tackles all game. You're just in that position. You're more or less preventing options around midfield. And I'm not saying you're not making tackles or interceptions, but there's just so much more going on that you've got to worry about. And again, it comes into what you got up top and your stamina. But again, passing has to be done.
Yeah.
Your stamina and ability to tackle and win the ball back.
Yeah, and I like that you have on here passing range, right? You've got to be able to make several different types of passes when you're that 8. Whether it is, for lack of a better term, playing a long ball, right? When you get in those situations, all the way back down to playing those 1-2s and those short little 4, 5, 6 yard 1-2s. So you just have to be so smart, so athletically gifted. And honestly, Coach, I think it's why I think the physical demands are one of the, and it's not the only reason, but I think it's one of the reasons why I talked about this at the top, you saw this development. Okay, let's take those 2 center mids, and instead of running them side by side, let's stack them into the attacking and holding.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. And again, some examples are Steven Gerrard, he's the reason I'm a Liverpool fan, is watching Steven Gerrard. Modern day, someone like a Jude Bellingham is kind of more in that kind of role. Coach, let's move on to our next topic here, and that's the importance of partnerships. Partnerships in the midfield.
Yep.
We talked about the 4-4-2 with 2 midfielders. We got the 4-3-3. We've got 3 in the middle. No one can do that job on their own.
Correct.
Can you imagine somebody setting up something where you have a single midfielder? Or I'll tell you what, I've seen this. It was in high school. A coach was running a 4-3-3. It was a flat 4, a flat 3, and a flat 3.
Wow.
And that center midfielder got run over.
Yep.
Because you put 3 in the middle, I'm dominating that game.
Yeah.
So there's a reason we have pairs or a trio. Sometimes you might hear the term double pivot, where you have in your 4-3-3, there are 2 holding mids, which is something I love to do. We all know I'm more defensive when I'm coaching. Other ways, you have the 1 holding mid and maybe 2 attacking mids in the 4-3-3. Another one is the 4-1-2-1-2. We have you see that diamond formation, but there's all kinds of different ways. But again, coach, it goes down to the players that you have and what abilities they bring to your team.
Yeah. I'd run that 4-1-3-2 is what we can run. So again, I play that 6, and I tell that 6 that they are the pivot, right? They're that pivot where when we're attacking, they should be the bottom of triangles, right? They should be that point of the triangle. And then when we're defending, they should be a part of the long part of a triangle, right? So the instead of the point, they're down on the bottom. Yeah. And they're like, well, who do I read off of? I was like, you read off of your center mid and your center backs, right? That's who you're looking at. And I think what makes that double pivot hard is you sometimes do get in that straight line, and so then you're gashed, right, against a good team. I loved the I can't remember one of our years together at Central. You had Rachel Hughes and Long, and you ran that shifting 3 in the middle of the field in that 4-3-3.
Yeah.
I can't think of who. Bailey Vanover. And I really liked what you did with that. That's like a whole other type of communication, right? Because now, ultimately what Coach Dunham did is he had those girls. They were just reading off of each other, and if one of them stepped, the other 2 would drop. And they just kept that diamond in the center of the field the whole time. So for them, it wasn't like, hey, Rachel, you're the 8, and Bailey, you're this. It was, hey, you all are my triangle. Make sure we stay that way.
And you've already said this, but the key there is communication.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm the back line, we always start with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's always talking. He's talking to the back line. The back line's talking to midfield and all the way up. And we're all on the same page if we work closely enough through practices and our trainings.
Right.
But those positionings and our rotations and our runs, our second and third man runs, our overlaps, all of that comes with communication.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is, again, tactical awareness. If I'm playing a certain position and I'm looking at my player and they're making a run, I'm like, oh, I know what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes chemistry, that body language and that chemistry sometimes is all you need. But every now and then you still need that verbal communication of hold it, or I'm overlapping, or play me through, or come back. Again, that communication there with the center mids, we're connecting the top, we're connecting the back. We have got to be a cohesive unit on page at all times.
Well, and so I love that you said that, because again, this leads to the chemistry and the communication type of thing. Like, we're starting to work on that nonverbal communication. Using my hand. Hey, sticking my hand. Hey, play me through right now. I'm going. Right? Or hey, I need the ball here at my feet. Yeah. Right? So just having that nonverbal communication as well is so important, and that's what makes the great ones great, right? They've built that chemistry with their team, and you watch them and it's just like, how in the world did they know that guy was going to be there? Well, it's because of those things of playing with each other for a long time, the work and training and all that stuff, where it just makes this beautiful game beautiful.
Yeah, you explaining that, what popped in my head was the Spanish national team. Not that the current national team isn't good, but I'm talking like the 2000s and 2000 teens, that golden era of Spain, that tiki-taka, that ball movement, it just looked so simple and so easy, and they broke down everybody.
Yeah, and nobody could stop it.
Nobody. Coach, this is a lot of fun here. Remember, center midfielder, very important position. Defensive guy, he's your protector. Your attacking guy is your creator. Your box to box is your connector.
Love that.
We've already kind of said this. Strikers are winning you games. Defenders are winning you titles. The midfielders are winning you the battles game to game.
I love that.
Everybody's important on that field. But again, they're setting the tempo, the kind of the heartbeat, and they are a workhorse on the field. Coach, great episode today. I'm Coach Dunham. That's Coach Hamilton. We are the A.C.E Football Academy. Go kick some ace.